In this video, I want to share with you an approach to structuring solos which really improved my improvising like 1000%, making the transition from random noodling to musically coherent ideas. I'll be sharing a few licks along the way, and by the end we'll have a full solo to work with. So the approach we're looking at here is AABA. So we're going to play a lick which we'll call lick A, then we're going to repeat lick A, and then move on to something different, lick B, and come back to lick A. And what this does is join everything up, so it sounds like your solos make sense and you're not just playing random notes. To kick off, let me demonstrate the concept with a really simple 3-note lick. So let's start with a nice short example here in the key of A, and lick A is going to look like this. So I'm just sliding into the 7th on the B string, up to the root note of the 5th fret on the high E, back to the 7th on the B, and then up to the 8th on the high E with a little bend up on it. Really short, simple lick, but we're going to get a lot of mileage from this. So this is lick A, we're going to play it once, and then again. But that second time, we might put a little variation on it. So there, I've just come back down to the 5th fret on the high E string. Now this is probably the easiest way to vary a lick and extend its mileage, just by either adding a note on the end or taking away the last note sometimes works. So here we've got twice of A, first time just straight, second time with a little variation. Okay, so then B, we could kind of then play anything within this area of the guitar. So I did something like a few little bends like that, nice and simple, and then back to A again. That time I varied it a bit again by playing that little bend at the 8th fret on the high E twice. Maybe something like that. So all together, A with a variation, B, and then back to A again with a variation. Now we could do exactly the same again with A, but then mix up what B is to take this a little bit further. So you saw me doing something like that, where I just moved up to these kind of 8th and 10th fret area here on the high E and B strings. And then when I came back to A to end, I just kind of extended that out a bit in terms of the timing, so that that A lick kind of ended right where the track ends. So see how this AABA approach allows us to put together a solo, which is really simple, but from a musical perspective is really joined up. Okay, so now we've got this AABA approach down, let's try again, but this time with a longer phrase. So for this second lick, we're going to add in some repetition, which is going to extend it and make it twice as long as the first lick we looked at. So overall, it's going to look like this. So what's going on there, just starting at 5 on the G string, just as a little pickup note, and then sliding into 9 on the G string, 8 on the B string, and then back to 9 on the G string. And it's just a case of repeating that slide into 9 on the G, 8 on the B, 9 on the G. So that's the kind of core of the lick, and then it ends with this slide from 9 down to 7, pull off to 5 on the G string, that is, and then down to 7 on the D, and then back for a little bend up at 5 on the G, and then resolving down to 7 on the D string there. So that's lick A. So then we're going to repeat it, A, but with a slight variation. So again, we're just going to change the last note. So the first time around, it ends with this bend up at the 5th on the G string, resolving down to the 7th on the D. I'm going to replace those two notes with this one note, a bend up at the 8th on the B string. So first time, second time, like so. Like so. So we've got A and then A with a variation. Now this time for B, kind of sticking around this 5th, 7th fret area, I just did something like a little repeating pattern around the high E and B string. You can play anything there, so I won't go through that note by note. But then back to A again, and I think I just played it pretty much exactly the same as I played it the first time. And then just played a little lick on the end around the A and D strings just to bring it to a close. And now it immediately makes sense that this is kind of the core idea for the solo, and everything else feels joined up around that and really put together. Now let's take it a step further and look at a lick which has got two elements to it, which is going to get us moving up and down the fretboard. So far we've been focusing around this A minor first position scale here, starting at the 5th fret. So let's bring that up an octave to the 17th. And we're going to focus on some of these notes on the upper strings here. So starting at the 17th on the B, a kind of pickup note, and then these multiple bends at the 20th. So we're bending a full step to hit that root note of A there. 4 bends I think I'm doing there, and that's going to be the first part of the lick and kind of creates a bit of a ostinato type of effect in its own right. Then for the second part, we're going to come back down to this 5th fret area and play something along those lines. So again, I think a pickup note, 5th fret on the G string, and then into a double stop, so barring 7 on the G with 7 on the B, play those twice. Second time with a kind of bend up and down, and then 5 on the G, 7 on the D, and then double stop again, 5 and 5 on the G and B strings, again with a little bend up, and then resolve down to 7th fret on the D. So all together, that's what lick A is going to look like. And then when repeating lick A, to create some variation, there are two different things I did. Firstly, so instead of just playing like the first time, 4 bends up at that 20th fret, the second time I varied it by playing 2 bends and then a pull off, 20 to 17, and then bend up again. So that little pull off creates some great variation there, and then when coming back down to this 5th fret area, I just took off the last resolve back down to the root note of A there at the 7th fret on the D string. So the first time I played, second time, so it's actually shorter, and then I played a little kind of slide up just to round it off. So something like that. And then for lick B, to create a kind of crescendo effect, I reused this repeating pattern that we saw earlier. but this time an octave higher up here and put some bends on the end of it. And then of course back to lick A to end. And the little variation I did there was just to play these double stops at the 7th fret 2 times, and that just mixes it up and brought the solo to an end bang on the end of the track. So we've seen 3 different ways we can apply this AABA approach, so let's put them all together to give us an extended solo to finish.